All right. Looks like we are live.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for Wizarding Wands and Mickey Ears Tuesday night live stream. So glad to be back with you, chatting about everything Disney and Universal with all the destinations. So thank you for joining us. If you're new here and you're not subscribed to our page, please do so. Give us that thumbs up to let us know that you like what you're watching. And throughout our time together, feel free to jump in that chat and let us know where you're watching us from. If you have questions or comments about anything that we're chatting about. I'm Catherine Ritchie. Jennifer McCormick is here too. We're just working on sharing out our link to all of our pages. So those who are interested can jump in and join us tonight.
Yeah, for some reason, their technology is fighting with me today. Some days I have a good day, some days I don't. So
We usually do
I'm
pretty
struggling
well.
today.
So we can have an off
I
night.
know. It feels like a full moon or something. There are just some days where everything's a little bit harder than
Yeah.
others. Yesterday I was like, is it Friday yet?
Yeah, I was a little off from the weekend, I will say. Nope,
Not.
but it's Tuesday and we're
It's
here.
Tuesday. Yeah, and
So
we've
that's
got
that.
some big news. There's just so much happening and so much to go through and to explain. And so again, like Catherine said, if you've got questions about things, if we're chatting about something and you want more information, definitely put that in the YouTube chat. We are monitoring that constantly, keeping an eye on it, answering questions. Sometimes there are questions that come in that aren't exactly relevant to the conversation we're having right now. We'll table that for later. Or if you just want to say hi,
Yeah.
and let us know that you're there, we'd love to see you, love to chat with you. It's always nice to interact in this space. And I know, again, that we've got a lot of folks who do take a look at this information later on. That's awesome too. We are always monitoring the Facebook page, the Facebook group. I mean, you're welcome to pop in those spaces and ask questions as well. And then, of course, doing what we can with TikTok and Instagram, and those are a little bit interactive or less interactive as far as asking questions. But the Facebook Wizarding Wands and Mickey Ears Facebook group is a really great place to ask questions of us or of other folks in the group. So come on by.
Absolutely. So, on a personal note, I'm celebrating my birthday tonight. So,
Happy
cheers.
birthday! Cheers!
If any of you are out there having a drink, please do so. So, just because it's Tuesday night, maybe like us, you're glad you made it through the day. But yeah, so always a bonus to be on talking Disney and Universal. So, yeah,
Absolutely. And we're so lucky that you're happy to celebrate your birthday.
I
That's
am. Yeah, I've had a nice
great.
time with my family and doing things through the weekend. So I'm on chatting. So in that vein, we kind of talked about this a few weeks ago. We are doing a monthly giveaway. So we are seeing a lot of you interacting a lot here in the chat, but also in our Facebook group too. So again, that could be just something you want to share. It could be a question. It could be interacting with us. Everyone who does that gets a chance to win a $25 gift card. So to Disney, iTunes, Amazon, a lot of choices. But that's just, again, another little incentive if you are thinking, oh, that's a good way. I could use that. Who can't use any of those things too? But also hopefully get some questions answered. We know a lot of you are using that as well. You have a trip coming up. Maybe you're thinking about one. You haven't traveled in a while, whatever it is, all of it is relevant too. So we are obviously there as experts to some degree, of course, but we love hearing from others because as we talk about all the time, we all travel differently too and have had different experiences. So,
Right, right. And I learned from folks who travel differently. And, part of our jobs when we are, working as travel planners for families is to get to know what they want and to help you find, your best options for everything. So of course, when folks ask, what do we love? I'm very happy to share that. But, if you don't like the same type of food that we like, or if you are only morning people and don't want to do anything at night or vice versa, that makes for a different trip. And so we've
absolutely.
got, different suggestions there. When it comes to our October giveaway, we will announce that here on the Tuesday Night Topics and Tidbits on Tuesday, October 26th. So that'll be our October giveaway. And then we'll look at November, end of November at some point. I don't even know what the dates are in November.
Can't even think that far.
I
So I
haven't
am
been that far
excited.
ahead.
Yeah. So I didn't open all of my gifts tonight for my kiddos, but one, of course, a Disney gift card They know
Of
me because I'm
course.
going food and wine in just a few weeks, which is crazy. And then some super cute mini socks.
Oh, I
So I know,
love
aren't those
it.
the cute? My daughter did a good job. So I told her
Super
I'd
cute.
share
Super
those as well.
cute.
So yeah,
So fun.
let's jump in. We have a lot to cover. We didn't get through everything last week even because we had so
No.
much to talk about. But I think we'll start with Universal news.
Yeah, so Universal had some announcements about some of the attractions. And first and foremost, there are a couple of attractions that will just have short or somewhat short closure. So first of all, Fast and Furious Supercharged will be closed November 8th through the 11th, so only a really short closure. Revenge of the Mummy, however, will have a pretty extensive closure. They're saying it'll begin January 7th through late summer 2022. And so that's coming back, but they've got quite a bit of maintenance to do with that. But we've got a couple of attractions that are closing completely. So Fear Factor Live is closing permanently on November 1st. And Shrek 4D and the Shrek 4D or the gift shop there will be closing permanently on January 10th. Apparently, though, the meet and greet with Shrek and Donkey are going to continue, but there are, a couple of attractions that they're closing permanently. And so we haven't heard exactly what's going in their places, but I'm sure that they've got some pretty significant plans coming up. So we should be looking for announcements for Universal. Also, there are some great deals to be had with Universal trips up through spring. I found some nice deals. Typically with Universal, though, you're not going to find discounts on, 1 or 2 day tickets on, a one night stay. Usually it's going to be a little bit of a longer stay, a little bit of a longer ticket. That's the type of incentive, or, a 3 park ticket. I tend to see quite a few more incentives for 3 or 2 park tickets. And so if you're not familiar, the 2 theme parks at Universal are Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure. And then if you're interested in Harry Potter World, it's split between the 2. And so Diagon Alley is in Universal Studios. Hogsmeade is in Islands of Adventure. The Hogwarts Express connects them. You have to have a 2 park ticket to go between the 2. Unfortunately, I find that a lot of folks, even if they're planning longer 4 or 5 day trips to Universal, don't quite understand the incredibleness, I guess, of
Yeah.
Volcano Bay.
Yes.
So it's tough to explain. I mean, you do have to like water. If you don't like water, then Volcano Bay is not for you. But there's something for everyone at the Volcano Bay water park. And it's hard for me to call it a
Yeah.
water park because it's more than that. I mean, they've got water coasters, water slides, they've got a lazy river, they've got an action river. There's
More of an
a wave
experience.
pool. It
Yeah.
is. It
Yeah.
really
I
is an
would say so.
experience. And
Hmm.
another thing is, folks who aren't necessarily from Florida think, oh, I'm going in March. It's not going to be warm enough. Odds are probably pretty good that you're going to get at least 1 or 2 really hot days.
Absolutely.
In a late March spring break type of
Right.
trip.
Hmm.
So, it's definitely worth adding the 3 park ticket in there. I was looking for a group going for 5 days to the parks, and it would have been an extra, I
Mm.
think, $45 per person to add the water park and to be able to pop on over whenever they want, to Volcano Bay. I know. I don't feel like it's that much more for that much more of an experience.
I think that's a great deal. And I think the advantage too is Volcano Bay's placement, that it is so close to. So it's right there. So, and again, you don't have to be a water park family necessarily. I mean, maybe you think, oh, your kids would be, but there's really something for everyone. But again, the layout is really different.
Right.
There's so many of the food options. I mean, that it's close to all those resort hotels is great. So, um, yeah, I think you're right. And again, if your children are like my children, I mean, it doesn't matter what time of year, they will go in a pool.
Yes.
Because we do get those questions, even, they'll be, are the pools heated or people, I mean, there are people going in the pools year round at Disney Universal. It
Oh,
does not
right.
matter. So your children will too. But we've talked about this too. I mean, we've both been to the water parks at Disney, but I mean, the one at Universal is just a different level for sure.
It
So it's
really
definitely
is.
worth checking out, especially at that price point.
Right.
That's really good.
It's just not that much more
No,
that much more of an
right.
experience. And you're right about the placement. So, I mean, for folks who are used to Disney World, for the most part, it takes a good amount of time to get around. Disney World property is huge.
Right.
Universal's on a much smaller footprint. City Walk is how you enter into Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure, but then Volcano Bay is just not that far away. And so if you're in, a hotel that's close to City Walk, you can walk or, take a bus, but it's possible to walk. So, it's basically at the parking lot of Cabana Bay. You can walk from Cabana Bay to City Walk. I've done it. It's not that bad of a walk unless it's the middle of summer. So that's not smart. The middle of the day, middle of summer, I might have tried that one.
Yeah, if you know me on this, I melt in all weather. So no, I would definitely not have made it.
Yeah, middle of the day, middle of summer probably wasn't wise.
Oh
But still, I
gosh.
mean, it's within a walking distance. I want to say maybe about 20 minutes tops in
Oh,
heat.
absolutely.
And so we could have taken the bus, but I just wanted to see what the walk was that day. And I mean, in a normal time, it's great, but it's really close. I mean, most of what you're
Yeah.
doing at Disney is not walkable.
Right.
That's
Right.
very different at Universal. It's,
It's so
things
true.
are again, much smaller footprint, easier, quicker to get around. So,
Right. So when we say you might want to pop over you can do that without using as much time as you would at
right.
Disney too. So just keep it in
Yep.
mind.
And there are lockers and everything else. If you've got all your
Mhm.
stuff with you, you want to throw it in a locker, that's great. At Volcano Bay, there's a wristband system that they call the Tapu Tapu. As long as you got everything linked up to your Universal Studios app, as far as payment and everything like that, you literally can throw everything into a locker and only have your Tapu Tapu, pay for things, get on the there that you use your Tapu Tapu for the attraction waits, and so you're not actually physically waiting in line. It's a
Right.
virtual line, and you tap to get into the virtual line, and then it tells you when it's time for you to go back. And then anytime after that, you can go back. So you don't have to go back right away. You just can't get into another virtual queue until you ride that attraction. And so it's
Right.
brilliant. I think it's really nicely done, and it's
Mhm.
the atmosphere is a lot of fun too. So
Yeah, it is. I agree with that too. It's why it's so popular. It's why a lot of Florida residents visit it as often, but why they definitely want to include that on their next trip if they do.
right. Yeah. And it's one of those things where people don't get it until they go. And they're like,
Exactly. Yep.
oh,
Um,
yeah,
you
every
weren't kidding.
time.
So true. So true.
Very true.
So again, if you're thinking Universal, I know Easter break, if your children's schools or families follow Easter again is a little bit later, or I think it's that week of
Yeah. I want
Easter.
to say it's like the 17th or something. It's
Yeah, it's
pretty late.
late. It's later. As we all know, it fluxes. So, that's one thing to keep in mind that spring break Easter schedule is a little different, but it's never too early to get something on the calendar. So,
Absolutely.
mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So I guess if we're talking about virtual queues, we have to start looking into Disney Genie.
we do. And before you do that too, as we all know, the wonderful world of Remy is at Epcot now. And so we have our virtual queue video up. So again, if you subscribe to our channel, you would have gotten notification of that. But if you are visiting the parks and want to maybe thinking, I don't understand what a virtual queue is, I don't know what that means, we have amazing videos for that you definitely want to check out because as we've talked about before, this is the way of I think we're going to see this at a lot more rides, especially these newer attractions that are incredibly popular. It was the way it was for Rise of the Resistance for a very long time and is paused right now. But you do want to be able to master it, and you can't just go in blindly and think you're going to do
Right.
it. So Jennifer has done an excellent job doing it real step by step and showing you, and we've seen great success with it. So that's just something to keep in mind. And so really knowing the whole My Disney Experience app is again, it will only enhance your trip and you don't want to come back thinking if I'd only studied it up a little bit too. So
Yeah. And I
this is
think, I
where
mean,
Genie Plus is going to come in.
yeah. And the thing with the My Disney Experience app that threw me off at the beginning is that if you just open it up and scroll down, there's a lot of information there, but I like a menu. And
Yeah.
so, if you're opening up the app on the bottom right-hand corner, there are the three lines that brings you to basically like a directory of what's
Mhm.
available on the app. And then you can see park hours, resort hotel, mobile ordering, virtual queues. It's so much cleaner
Yeah,
there.
you're right.
Your photo pass photos, all of that. And so I've learned just to go to that menu, the
Mhm.
three horizontal lines, that brings you to the menu. My husband calls it the hamburger. Apparently it's called a hamburger to
Oh,
folks in the media world, but
okay.
marketing and social media. But anyhow, you click on that, that brings you a nice clean menu, and that's where you can find all of that information there too.
Okay.
So,
Hmm. Yeah.
but definitely spend some time digging around. And before we get too far, I wanted to go back. There was a comment in the chat from Paul Chamberlain, who is a wonderful client of mine. Love the family. He said, don't forget Volcano Bay. It's the best water park in Orlando. But I think it's the best water park I've been to. And I mean, I live not too
Mm.
far away from the water park capital of the world, the Wisconsin Dells.
Yeah.
And I still think Volcano Bay wins.
Yeah, that's a
At
great
least that's what the
endorsement.
Wisconsin Dells calls themselves.
Right. No, I have heard that. So that's
Yeah,
great.
but it is, it is. But yeah, so I mean, but anyhow, with any of these locations, I know there's some folks who don't want to use too much technology. You don't have to use quite as much of it at Universal, but
Mhm.
it's still really beneficial to download the app, to look at the wait times. There are some virtual queues that pop up from time to time at Universal. So if the normal standby queue isn't very long, then they'll introduce virtual queues. At Disney World, something like Ratatouille is going to have that virtual queue until it doesn't anymore. So everybody who
Right.
wants to ride it will need to use either the virtual queue or lightning lanes, which we'll talk
Yes.
about.
Yeah. So yeah, so there's a lot to talk about that way. So again, if you're looking for those virtual queues or any of our how-to videos, you can find those on our channel, which are really helpful. And again, from mobile ordering to rides to doing this whole, again, the whole reason is we share those to enhance your trip as well. You're spending a lot to be there, and we want you to have the best experience you can. So we've talked about this, gosh, maybe just the past few weeks because Genie Plus, now it's real. It's going to be live starting next Tuesday.
I
And
know.
so we're still getting our heads around everything that means. And then lightning lane. So you may say, I have no idea what you're talking about. Some of you have probably read as much as we have on it. So we
Right.
wanted to talk a little bit about that tonight and what that means for your trip. Some of you will be traveling when this actually opens, which is interesting. And then a lot of you will be traveling in the future too. So you want to
Right.
start with Genie Plus and what that means?
Well, why don't we start with just the basic free
Yeah,
Genie,
sure.
because the
Mhm.
this
Yes,
launch is
I'm sorry. Yeah,
really, in my mind, it's three different things.
that's true.
And so, I mean, there is a free version that everyone can access. They're
Mhm.
just calling it Disney Genie. And what it is it's basically a a tool to help you navigate what you want to do most in the parks.
Right.
And so when it launches, what we've been told and all of the training and all these pieces is that you go in and you let it know what you want to do. So what are your top attractions? Are there food locations that you want to eat at? I mean, what do you want to do with your day? And then it will help you navigate that day, and then, also offer other suggestions that might be similar to some things that you would be interested in, if there's a short wait time or something that'll fit well. And so if you're interested you know, in something in like New Fantasyland. So say maybe you're interested in Dumbo, maybe it'll suggest the Little Mermaid ride if there's a short line there. And that's what it sounds like they'll do for your day. And you can go in and make changes all day long on what you think, if you change your mind and say, no, I thought I wanted to do Small World, but I don't want that song in my head for the rest of the day. So let's pull that off. You can go in and change it, and then it will update in real time. And even
Mhm.
if you don't change it, it updates in real time based on what's available in the park, what the wait times look like. If there's a ride or an attraction that's down for some reason, it'll reconfigure that. And so Genie Plus, the free version, I think is going to be a great tool, especially for folks who aren't familiar with the parks. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you can really think of it as a personalized itinerary. So it's a lot of what we help with advise our clients to, or that a lot of you, if you travel on your own, do. But it's really helping move people around the park. So again, maximizing your time in the park, hopefully lessening some of those wait times. Again, prioritizing what you really want to see as well. So I think it'll be great, and the fact that everyone can have access to that and use that as much as you want to, but I think people really will. And based again on what we know and how it hopefully will work, is that will be the goal.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, there are things that we can't plan for. We can't plan for an attraction going down. We can't plan for, we can say if you're traveling in the summer, there's going to be a torrential downpour at some point in time in your day, probably. But you don't know where that is and how that's going to impact the day. But that will be part of the Genie service. And so, you can go in, tell it what you want to do, and then it'll come up with a personalized real-time itinerary for you.
Right.
So,
yeah. So that's a good thing.
Cool.
I think that is a good thing.
Cool.
So, and again, I'll be interested. So we always talk about the My Disney Experience app does use a lot of energy. I'm not technological, so it just uses a lot. So I don't know if this will take more, but just a note to always pack an extra charger, portable chargers with you when you're visiting Disney, just because you are using that app, perhaps not all the time. I mean, you certainly can tuck it away. Your phone's not out all the time, but you do want to be prepared based on that.
Right. Well, and especially with all the pictures you're likely going to want to take. And when it's hotter outside, my phone seems to die a little bit faster.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, we always bring another charger sometimes too, with my family, because I mean, now that I've got teenagers, they want to look at it too. So they might be logging into my account because, they're not old enough to have their own accounts yet, but they want to look at things in real time, and they want to see our PhotoPass photos and our itineraries and the wait times and the mobile ordering and all the rest of it too. So, yeah. So that's Disney Genie free version.
You're right. Yes. And that launches next Tuesday. So it's here. We're kind of glad. I mean, in some ways we're glad it was not before the 50th when we were, but now I'll be there in a few weeks. I'll be able to test it out and let you know how it's working.
That'll be nice.
Yes, I'll be with my friends. So I'll be trying it out and seeing how it is too. So we'll let you know about that as well. But yeah, so that's rolling out. And then you're right. I was getting ahead of myself. So then we have Genie Plus as well. So that is an additional feature that will be added, again, modeled after, and we talked about this, I feel like months ago, really modeled after Disneyland, that has had what's called Max Pass for a long time, previous pandemic. And then Disneyland Paris rolled out something similar as well. So Genie Plus is a pay option.
Right.
So again, you do not have to use these. These are, again, options to be. You can still go to the parks. You have that advantage of the Disney Genie to do this, but this is an enhanced opportunity for you to really kind of not have to wait as long at some attractions. So for those familiar with the Fast Pass system, similar, but a little different.
Well, they rebranded it, calling it Lightning Lanes now instead of Fast Pass. So same basic idea, same lines. Yeah. Right. But the difference is for Genie Plus, you're paying $15 per person per day. Starting October 19th, you can actually pay to have this added to your ticket purchase or added to your package, and then you'll automatically have it every day, every park day of your trip. And so it'll automatically be there. But if you're buying it on a one-off basis, you can buy it anytime after midnight. And so anytime that day, you can buy the Genie Plus service and then have access to the Lightning lanes. And again, just like Max Pass or like the Fast Pass of old, the paper Fast Pass system, you would get your pass one at a time. And then after you enter that attraction, then you're able to pull another Lightning lane is the way it's going to work. But if there's some Lightning lane that's further in the future, then it'll give you a return time. So, I mean, this happened to my family when we were using Max Pass in Disneyland, is we wanted to use it on Radiator Springs Racers. And so it was early in the day, but the next pull that we could get was, something like 3 or 4 o'clock. Well, it didn't make us wait until 3 or 4 to get our next, at that time, it was Fast Pass at Disneyland. We had to wait until like noon or something along those lines.
Right.
And so, I mean, we had no trouble using it throughout the day, for several days. And so it worked really well for us there. And not to get too far ahead of ourselves, right now we're talking about Disney World. Genie Plus Lightning lanes will launch at Disneyland, but sometime later this year. This is what we're hearing.
Right.
Anytime after October 19th.
Yes, just give us a little breather to get everyone situated this way. So again, if you're traveling in the future, you'll be able to book this at the time of, booking your entire package. For those that'll be traveling, I know I have clients that'll be there on the 19th and whatnot. They'll be adding it then rather than in advance as well. And like Jennifer said, most people would add it in advance, so it's part of their package and it's just ready to go, but you could add day of if you wanted to as well.
Right. And so, I mean, if you think at first you don't want it and then you get there and you're like, why didn't I do this? Okay, you can add it then. But then, I mean, you might, depending on when you decide to add it, you might be a little bit later on in your day and have missed some of the earlier lightning lane selection. So something to think about ahead of time, but again, not a requirement. So in addition to Genie Plus, though, and different from the Fast Pass system, is that there are a couple of attractions in every park that aren't included in Genie Plus that will have lightning lanes, but they're completely separate one-off purchases. And so whether you have Genie Plus or not, if you want to take advantage of the lightning lanes for those attractions, you will need to purchase them. And guests staying on property can purchase them starting at 7:00 in the morning. And then I think everyone else, if you're not staying at a Disney World resort, you can start purchasing at the park open time, based on availability for the rest of the day. So I'm trying to think in my head how we would do this strategically. I mean, there are some attractions that we probably would buy. There are some where we would just get to the park first thing in the morning and, be the first person in line for that attraction, because there's still a standby line for that.
Yes.
Oh, Lorena's in the chat. Hi, Lorena. Good to see you.
Hi, everyone. I know. We know it's more than just Lorena watching. So
Right. Yeah, but so for those additional lightning lane selections, you would pay extra for them. And it looks like the range of prices is something like, what were they saying? $7 to up to $15 per attraction
per person.
And, right. And you can only purchase up to 2 of the additional lightning lanes every day. So even if you've got a park hopper and you're going to a couple of different parks, you can only select things once. Up to 2 different add-on lightning lane selections. So, but, for example, one of those is going to be Ratatouille. But if you are keeping an eye on, that virtual queue and, following those directions to a T, I really do think that it's possible to get into, the virtual queue for Ratatouille and then not have to worry about paying for the lightning lane for that. So, Lorena's so sweet. She said, happy birthday. And then Jessica, Andrea, and her are there saying hi and that she enjoyed meeting us. I'm like, I enjoyed meeting you too.
I know. Thank you for the birthday wishes, ladies. Yeah, we didn't mention it last week because we knew actually Lorena and family were still in the parks, but we did get to meet them. We love meeting because we work with so many clients that we never meet. So sometimes we'll see pictures from the trips and things like that. But we got to meet everyone when we were there. Gosh, it feels like so long ago now, but just a few weeks ago when we were in Magic Kingdom for the 50th. So that was a treat for all of us as well to get together and see you all in person. So thank you for, as always, being on and chatting. We appreciate it.
Yeah. So when it comes
so it probably sounds really complicated. I mean, if you're just listening and thinking, oh my word, I just had trouble picking which parks I wanted to go to, let alone these different things. It will get better. There's charts about it. We're going to help you with that. And again, it really does come down to individually what works for your family or your traveling group. And again, it doesn't mean you wouldn't have the option of riding like I won't go on it at all if I don't get a lightning lane or have those options. It's just, again, it's that wait time or maximizing your time in the parks and things like that. So those are the things to think about.
Yeah. And I think I'm interested to see, and keep track of wait times and what they look like, because, I've been keeping an eye on it now and, right away, first thing in the day, wait times have been fairly slow. And then middle of the day, they get to be just longer. And that's pretty normal as to, pre-closure times. Normally the busiest time of the day is the middle of the day because you've got your people who are coming late. You've got your early folks who are planning to leave late. But then, later in the day, the wait times were a lot shorter. And so again, I wonder if that'll be, remain to be the case with lightning lanes and, how that's managed. And, I've heard a lot of different things from folks about they hate to have to pay for something that used to be free. And I mean, who wants to pay for things that they don't have to pay for? At the same time, I've been to plenty of other, theme parks and amusement parks where, I mean, again, we talked about this. I mean, Universal's Express Pass, Unlimited Express, great option. You're paying like $130 a day minimum. I
Per
mean,
person,
per person.
per person.
And I mean, they say that it's less than that, but I haven't found the lower price days
I,
up to like $350 per day per person to
uh-huh.
take advantage of some of these things. And so I don't know. I can take a step back, but even, local amusement park, it's $100 a day.
Well, as I was going to say, Cedar Point, which is a huge attraction near us. I mean, that's closer to 100 a day. So
Right.
yes, it feels like, but again, you really do want to look at what that means. And, it is pretty nominal for the advantage that it provides. So again, we'll see. We're going to get a lot more feedback once it rolls out next week too. And our fellow Mickey Travels agents will be reporting on that too. And we'll let you know what they say too. And like I said, I'll be there. But I do think it's a good thing. You have to look at it in the big picture as well. So we knew something would be coming. I thought it might be a little later, but it's here, which is good. So
I thought it was going to be here by the first. So
you did. Well, I think we all did, but I mean, I'm
yeah.
glad not, because we didn't necessarily need it right then, which is still shocking with the wait time and things like
Well,
that.
and I think the psychology about it is different too. So, I mean, with the free fast pass, if there are folks who go to Disney all the time and who don't necessarily even want to ride a ride, but feel like they should because it's a popular attraction and they could get a fast pass. And so let's do it. Or they could get a virtual queue for Rise of the Resistance, they would go on it, but then maybe it's not necessarily their first choice. It just psychologically sounds like something that they should do.
Sure.
And so I wonder how the psychology of having to pay a little bit extra for something will change. How many people actually are paying for it. I think it'll create greater access for folks who, I know I've seen, sadly, way too many comments on, in different chats and blogs and whatever of people who visited Disney World 8 or 9 times and could never get on Rise of the Resistance, which breaks my heart because once you figure out how the virtual queues work and how to make them work, your odds should be a whole lot better than that to get into a virtual queue. And so, I mean, but people who've really tried and haven't been able to get into the virtual queue, and now this gives them an opportunity. And so if all they ever wanted to do on their trip is ride Ratatouille or Rise of the Resistance or Tron or, whatever will
Gives me a lot
be
more
in a
coming.
virtual queue, you're not going to feel like you missed something that was one of the most important things for you to accomplish on your trip.
It does equal the playing field in some ways. And I know we heard a lot of, especially when the virtual queue went away for Rise of the Resistance, there were a lot of comments about that and that the wait times would just be astronomical and things like that. They've been very manageable. I mean, yes, at first they were, but again, like we're saying, later in the day, it's quieter. And again, this is an advantage of staying in a Disney resort too, is that you can book those options earlier, but also you're getting in the park earlier. And I mean, that was huge. So it's 30 minutes. We were seeing parks open an hour early when we were there. I don't think that'll change. So the fact that you can get in and tackle, again, combining all these pieces together, that's really nice too. So know that's another perk of staying on property, is that you're getting that access. And I know 30 minutes might not sound like a lot. Again, it was opening before that, not published, but it's huge.
Disney is good at that though. I mean, if they see crowds, they're going to, I mean, if there aren't very many crowds, then yeah, you can count on the posted park opening time. It's not going to open later. But if there are excessive crowds, then they're really good at opening things early.
Yeah.
So if it's a busy time, for the most part, I feel like they've been prepared for that. And so we'll see what that looks like. But I should also mention that the Deluxe Resorts, Disney's saying that they're offering, now I can't remember the exact
the evening hours. I know,
but it's not extra magic hours. It's just extra evening hours or something. They changed, they're rebranding the terminology. But it's 2 extra hours at night. And so far they've launched at Epcot on Monday nights and Magic Kingdom on Wednesday nights. And from what I've heard, people have said it's a ghost town.
Yeah.
That they're walking on rides. Now there's not a lot of food open at that time. So if you are planning to take advantage of that, if you're staying at a deluxe resort, and again, this is only for deluxe and deluxe villa resorts, Monday nights at Epcot, Wednesday nights at Magic Kingdom, plan, to eat before whenever the park closing time
Sure.
is, but then you get 2 extra hours, in the park. And so I know for folks who were there yesterday, that's Epcot until midnight,
That's so
which is
fun.
fun. I know. And little kids aren't necessarily
Right.
going to be going to do that, but every once in a while on a trip too, you've got a 6 or 7-year-old who would never dream of being up that late, but they took a
Yeah.
nap in the middle of the day, went to the pool, they're sleeping, they wake up, they're hungry, you feed them, and they're rearing to go
Right.
again. And
Yeah.
so it's a
Absolutely.
different world, especially if you can sleep in the next day.
Yeah.
You just never
Well,
know, but don't close it off if you've got that available to you because you just never know.
well, you don't. And especially again, if the heat is something for you too, because you can. I mean, I was there with my teens, so I feel like withered more this time than they ever did when they were little. So to go back and take a swim and refresh and have dinner and then be able to pot and say, okay, we're going to go over and just even do a couple things or do those things again that we loved. That again, a really great perk of staying at a deluxe resort too. So just keep that in mind as well if you're considering staying on property.
Yeah. There's just so much changing right now too that
Yeah.
it's you want to keep an eye on things and ask questions and definitely book with a travel planner because we are live and breathe this every day and are keeping an eye on these things. And so, ask
Absolutely.
us what we think because on the 19th, that all of us are going to be glued to the experiences that our colleagues are having in this space. We'll be
Mhm.
playing around with the app from home. I mean, I've got an annual pass, so there are things I can
Yeah.
play with if the
Yes.
parks still have some availability those days, and I fully intend to be doing that to see, what's going to come up for me if I put in, that I want Splash Mountain and Big Thunder and Jungle
Right.
Cruise, like the things that I know will have, tend to have a longer wait. What's that going to look like?
Right.
So, and how does it
Yeah.
change throughout the day? So,
Absolutely.
so let us know. And
Well,
that's
and
why
one
we're here
thing,
on Tuesday nights. Ask X
yeah,
questions.
absolutely.
We're here to
I
share.
know. And usually, I know you can tell it's a Tuesday because there's been lots of news. But again, another advantage of using our services, our services are always free. We do this because we love it. And we do these Tuesday Night Lives because we want to share what we've learned and again, to make your experience better. The Galactic Starcruiser has been very popular. And that is like the biggest underestimation of this past few weeks. The
Yeah.
advantage, yeah, the advantage again of using our services is that you're not waiting on the phone. And we have both spent an incredible amount of time waiting for various things. So the Galactic Starcruiser, as we expected, very popular. So if you're thinking about that and you haven't reached out to us, let us know. But some new options are available. So if you're a Disney Visa card holder, which is a great advantage if you're taking a trip to Disney World, there's some great perks with that. There's some great advantages of that. But now through October 16th, you were able to book. There were slow different rates, annual pass holder, like different things, Disney Vacation Club, Club 33, things like that. So now Disney Visa card members can also start booking early. General public starts booking on October 28th. So we're already seeing some dates selling out. We're not surprised by that. But travel dates from between March 1st and September 30th of 2022.
Yeah.
So, which sounds so far away, but it's not. So,
No,
again,
no.
the Star Cruiser is an experience. So it is not. It's just immersive is the best way to describe it. I can't wait to
Yeah.
hear how it's going.
I
But if
know.
you
I know.
if
And
you
it's
love
not a
Star Wars,
hotel. It's not,
yeah,
I wouldn't call it a hotel. I mean, people call it the Star Wars Hotel. I'm like, no. I mean, you
no,
do sleep there for 2 nights. There are specific dates where the journeys start. You have your embarkation and debarkation days and some very specific rules, just like a cruise. But there's so much more that happens within that time. And so there's information that we need to gather in advance from you if you're looking to book that. So we have all of your first choice pieces before we get that far because there are different cast members who book different things, who vet different things. And so it's a pretty significant process just to
and the
book
case,
one of these.
absolutely.
Yeah.
The
At least for
cancellation
now.
policy is
Right.
different. There's just a lot that's different. It's again a bigger commitment, but again, an incredible experience if that is something that you love. So
Yeah.
very immersive, very much tuned to your experience as well. I almost think of it as, those choose your own adventure books too. Really that's how I like it, like a real live experience. I
Yeah,
mean,
true.
coming
True.
in those, I don't say outfits, costumes. I don't have them. You can I think that is, I mean, they're really encouraging that you are living that experience for the 2 days.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a cosplayer, this is the ultimate cosplay. It just
Absolutely.
is. And it feels
Yeah.
like a cruise. I mean, with a 20% deposit requirement, with the, limited cancellation,
Right.
fee deadlines. It's not like Disney World. It's more than 30 days out. You have to, I think
Right.
90 days is what we're looking at there. And then, the dining times, you've got assigned dining times, either main or second. And so booking it is much more like booking a cruise than it's like,
Right.
Disney World vacation. But then your dining is included. So, I mean, there are things that are included with this
Mhm.
also, which makes it much, much different than.
Right. Right. So I know I've had some people saying, I'm really interested, but I want to wait and see and things like that. But again, because of that bigger commitment, it's not like our typical cancellation policies for Disney World or other things too. So, but lots just sounds so cool. So again, if that's something on your radar, we're happy to chat with you about that as well. So,
Yeah. And I guess, a segue from there is, talking about cruise line,
mhm.
Disney Cruise Line announced some early 2023 sailings.
I know that just kind of dropped in today.
I know. I thought with everything else, really?
I know. We probably didn't
Could
even,
you
I know
give
we
us
didn't
a
have a chance
week?
to share that yet. We're like, which we should know better. It's a Tuesday. There's always
Oh,
some.
it's been crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, as if you're not as well versed in cruising or especially Disney cruise compared to Disney World or Universal, things like that, booking in advance is the key. Again, to always get that stateroom, the itinerary, to really get your first choice and everything. So if you're someone who can plan ahead, that is when it is really time to book. So a lot of those great itineraries are coming back,
Mhm.
really popular ones too. So if you're thinking about a cruise, and honestly, those months tend to be a little more popular too, because who doesn't want to go on a nice cruise in the winter months too?
Mhm.
So those are out. We'll share more information about that. But if you're thinking about a Disney cruise in 2023, that is available. So that's exciting.
Yeah. And there was some news that came out too about the Disney Wish, and I've been paying a special attention to, the
Mhm.
teen club
Yep.
types of things because of course I've got teens who are, sort of in those in between ages and will be on
Right.
the Disney Wish in, oh gosh, August 2022. It's still going to be a while. But one thing that I love about the teens clubs is that they've got their tween club, so the 11 to 14, which is Edge, and there's Vibe, that's 14 to 17. But then they even have a dedicated space for their 18-20 group and the other cruises. So I mean, as you know, if you're on a cruise, a lot of the older teens don't really have as much, especially a Disney cruise. I feel like they're a little bit of a lost
Right.
age group because it's not like they can go to the 21 clubs and enjoy those environments. And a lot of them are looking for people specifically their age. They want,
Right.
that college age that I've graduated from high school, but I'm not my parents type of group. And they'll have
Mhm.
activities for the 18-20 clubs or 18-20 folks in some of the different lounges, but they don't have a dedicated space. And so
Right.
now the Wish has a dedicated space for that group. And during some of the times, it'll share with the Vibe with the high school age groups, but some of the times it'll be specifically dedicated to the 18 to 20 crowd, which I think is fabulous. I think
Yeah.
that's a time when you really are wanting and looking for people specifically your age to hang
Right.
out with, and that's a special kind of niche developmentally, and so I'm really excited that
Mhm.
the Wish is bringing that in and really paying attention to that, and that gives me hope for the future,
Yeah,
ships
absolutely.
that are coming out here too, so
Right, right. And that's one thing Disney Cruise does so well are the kids clubs. I mean, starting literally at your tiniest ones all the way up. So there's all of these options. You might think, we're going on a cruise. We're going to just spend time together as a family. Well, if you don't have teenagers yet, let me tell you, they'll spend time with you, but they also want to be hanging out with other people and making those connections, and they can stay in touch. And it's just such a wonderful asset to Disney Cruise Line and something they're really known for too. So again, supervised activities, go and do things, but they have that option, exactly what they love. They want to be able to have a little freedom, hang out with mom and dad too. But the fact that
No
sometimes
hanging out, mom and dad.
most don't. I mean, you'll hear this a lot from, clients and things like that too, that they didn't see their kids much. Their kids never wanted to leave. And why would, if you see, if you haven't cruised, but you've seen pictures or videos, it's amazing. They would want to leave those areas. So,
Right.
and knowing again, Disney's safety and security and all of that is a wonderful thing. And that's a lot of what Disney Cruise Line offers. So yeah, it was fun to read about all the different offerings and the enhancements, and that will they keep unveiling more things that'll be happening too. So really exciting.
Yeah. And I mean, I think if folks aren't familiar with Disney Cruise Line, you'd be surprised. But our last sailing was shortly before the pandemic. I had tweens. They were both in Edge, or, one of them wasn't quite, but she was able to be in Edge with her sister. And I didn't see them. I didn't see them unless it was dinner time or unless they wanted to ask permission to spend money. And that was
Yeah.
about it.
So there's that. Yeah.
They had so much fun. I mean, once they got integrated into this group and met the other kids that were there and the activities that were planned, they loved it. And so we wish that we were sailing with other couples too, because we were shocked with the amount of time that we had together. And so now we're not bringing them on the next sailing.
Right.
But I should mention when we're talking about, I never in my life thought that I would go on a Disney cruise without my kids. Oh yeah, it's fun for the adults too.
You are.
Yeah, I definitely am. And I should mention that there are some sailings through mid-December that have, I mean, you don't normally see blanket discounts on Disney cruises. That's really, really rare. And so if you're thinking about getting a sailing in before the end of the year, not over necessarily a holiday weekend, there are some great deals to be had. Now, in most of these circumstances, you're booking like a guaranteed rate, and a guaranteed rate means that you're guaranteed this level stateroom or higher, but they assign the stateroom to you. You don't pick your stateroom.
Right.
But we were in a category for the sailing that I'm going on in early November that was going to be a veranda, but a forward or aft, and we are right directly midship starboard in our stateroom. It was just assigned to us, so I'll take it. Right in the middle. I like to be in the middle of the ship because I want to be, a couple decks below what's going on top, a couple of decks, above the dining and the clubs and stuff like that. And so that's exactly where our stateroom was placed. So I can't.
Yeah, that's exciting that already. That's even better.
I know. And it's a little early, I think, in some cases for them to be assigned. But of course, the sailings right now are pretty sparsely populated.
Right.
So we'll see what that looks like. And of course, I'll be sharing that with everyone and putting together as many videos as I can and, explaining the process and the testing and, everything else that we experience while we're there. So, but yeah, sailings, there's so many options right now. So many.
Yeah, there are. If you have flexible travel plans through the end of this year, there really are some, and again, and a lot of them are over the weekends, so which is even better. So if you can maybe, take a day or two and make it a long weekend, some smoking deals. We've said that, but again, they're still sitting there. So if you know what you want to ask for a holiday present, we can connect you. So
yeah, like an early Thanksgiving present.
Yeah, or it could be an early Halloween, whatever one you'd like, or birthday. Might know someone. all of those apply. We can promise you it'll be a great gift. So we love making those plans as well, or those surprises. Jumping to the West Coast, not a lot of news out of Disneyland necessarily, but a new shop will be opening. So an all new holiday store called Plaza Point. So that's coming to the corner of Main Street, USA and East Plaza Street. So looks really fun. And again, Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Line just do the holidays so well. Just if you love the parks and you love the holidays, just combine those and it's just extra magical. So that's something exciting happening out in California. And then also some discounts as well. I don't think we got this last week to share, but
No. Yep.
select rooms at Disneyland Resort hotels most Sunday through Thursday nights. So from tonight through December 16th. So if you're looking at those, and some good discounts, I would say Disneyland usually does. That's what I like about it as well. So again, 10% up to 25%, depending on the Disney resort. And remember, there's 3 Disneyland, lovely hotel options there too. So something to think about. So that's booking now through December 9th with travel completed by December 17th. So again, a great Halloween, Thanksgiving holiday gift to head out to California and visit Disneyland.
I know, and I feel like Disneyland just doesn't get enough love by, a lot of
No.
us who are on more of the Midwest, East Coast, but it's just such a great option. Or, for families who look at Disney World and are like, this looks great, it looks overwhelming. It's too
Yes.
much. I don't want to do this for my first Disney experience. I want something a little bit smaller, more manageable. There's still a ton to do, at Disneyland, at Disney California Adventure. I had some folks tell me that they're just going to do Disneyland because Disney California Adventure is just too grown up for the little kids. And I'm thinking, well, but then you're missing Monsters Inc. and you're missing Cars
Yeah.
Land and you're missing,
Right. Oh yeah.
Incredibles. I mean, there's something for everyone everywhere at
Yeah.
Disneyland.
And I love the layout of Disneyland, and it really is. It's nothing like Disney World. And again, we're more biased because we love Disney, but the fact that it started there. And let me just say too, this is a total segue. There was the special that was released on ABC. It was a 2020 special all about Disney's anniversary and the roots and things like that. And I'm pretty sure it's on Disney Plus now, because there's a whole new 50th anniversary, I don't want to say channel, but all kinds of sections. It's a 2-hour special. It is fascinating. So even I thought I knew almost everything, but some really cool footage, some stories. Things started at Disneyland and how they made it to Disney World. So if you don't know that connection, it's a really great special. It's really, my young kids watched it and loved it too. But yeah, Disneyland, I think, is even more accessible in terms of being able to walk and get to the downtown Disney area and enjoy restaurants. And I mean, literally, when we say you can walk to the park, if you know Disney World, you're like across a pavilion or not, walkway. You're thinking you just can't do that, and you can't do it at Disney World. It's a different feel to it. So again, so that the discounts are a bonus, but a lot of great options at Disneyland if you're thinking about visiting there too.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're wanting something where, it's tough for me because I like to be in the bubble. I like the Disney bubble. I love my Disney resorts, Disney hospitality. Clearly hook, line, and sinker. Disney has me. But Disneyland, if you think you want to pop off, property, if there are other things that you want to do in the area, you can do that fairly easily. Or if you really want to stay, off property, there are a select number of, locations that we can book room and ticket packages with that are very, very close. If you plan far enough in advance, you can get some places that are within easy walking distance as well. Those tend to, of course, book up the fastest. And so, that's not always the case, but sometimes, at Disney World, I wish I could just go to 7-Eleven and grab something at, a convenience store price versus a, resort price. You can do that easily. Disneyland, there are some nice restaurants that are just off, if you're willing to walk or, take transportation for a half mile.
Not far.
Mile.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you're really, it's more, it's a city and Disneyland is in that city. So yeah, absolutely. A lot of pros to that as well. So we'd be remiss if we didn't talk, when we're talking about travel, about Southwest and all that's been happening. We are huge proponents of Southwest, have been, travel it, both personally and with our families for, things like that, and have for years. We do know it's been pretty crazy for the, past 4 or 5 days. So we don't really have any pearls of wisdom in this area. I would just say this is another kind of expectation of travel right now, and probably just staffing overall. We've talked about that, about getting to the airport earlier, even if you're someone, like me, who's rolling in right under the line. It's just not an option anymore because of the staffing issues. And you just can't get through like you used to, even pre-check or things like that. So just give yourself enough time. But absolutely, the Southwest, it's hard. It's been hard to read for people
Right.
who have had these trips planned and just couldn't get anywhere. So um, I don't really have any good advice about it necessarily. I guess it's just something to keep on the radar. Hopefully we'll see that be remedied soon
Yeah.
as
Well, it
well.
seems
But
like it's evening
getting
out
better.
already, but I would say,
Yeah.
first and foremost, buy travel protection. Especially if you're not a frequent traveler, or, if very set on your dates, or I mean, if there are certain things that are important to you, buy travel protection. It'll help you. When it comes to different airlines, and Southwest is one of them. I've, flown Southwest a lot. I've learned that I might need to be flexible. And, there was one time when I was flying Southwest. I think I've mentioned this before. For my very first half marathon, I trained for it for a year and a half. I was going, and Southwest canceled our flight, and I lost it. I was like, what do I do? It's not like I'm not going to go, and they couldn't get me out. And so I booked a very last minute, very expensive flight down on
Yeah.
Delta. And I mean, I know some people have had different experiences with different airlines.
Right.
For me, if it's a trip where I am set on those dates, or I mean, international trips to Hawaii, like Delta's my go-to on that. And I've mentioned
Yeah.
this before. They've gotten,
Hmm.
Hawaii in an ice storm. They've gotten me to Spain with a whole bunch of other different things. They just are so connected that there are some major
Yes.
carriers who will put you on other major carriers.
I was just going to say
Southwest
that.
isn't one of those. I mean, it's
No.
like, so more of your discount folks like
Hmm.
Southwest or Sun Country or
Frontier,
Frontier,
Spirit.
Spirit, yeah,
Hmm.
JetBlue. They only interact within their own systems.
Right.
And
Right.
so they don't necessarily share with some of the other major
Right.
carriers. And so, when big things happen,
Right.
you're less likely. I mean, Southwest canceled our flight on the way home in April, and I wasn't complaining because we had extra vacation time, and we stayed
Right.
2 more days and had an incredible extra park day. But if we didn't have that flexibility,
Yeah.
I would have been finding some last minute deals, and, we do an annual travel policy, and, would have pulled that in
Right.
um,
Right.
as well. So it's just one of those things to keep an eye on, and just be
Mhm.
prepared for. Always keep an eye on your flights. I always keep an eye on my seats too, even if I've got a seat selection and I either purchase those depending on the airline, or, I fly Delta main cabin. I always keep an eye on those. And if for some reason they change and they don't work for my family, I'm the first person in line. Those airlines have space saved, unless, you're in a discounted category. Um,
Right.
you know, type of situation that you've purchased for your airfare. So yeah, so it's tough for me to see that, because Southwest, tends to be one of the more reliable
Mhm.
discount carriers. I mean,
Right.
over the past several decades, they are still considered to be a discount carrier,
They
though.
are.
So
They are. So yeah, and again, I've certainly had those experiences on every airline where a flight's been canceled or something like that. I could tell you, and it's been Southwest and it's been others, but I guess it's probably just a reminder to know that, and that's the point I was going to say too, is that they don't necessarily work with other airlines. But again, just know that staffing is tough across the board right now. So to know that, just keeping an eye on everything. Some things are just going to be out of your control. We don't book flights for our clients, that you're booking flights on your own too. And we know every major city has a different hub as well. So we always flew Southwest to Florida. It's no longer a direct. We don't do that. I use it a lot when I fly to Maine to see my family. But again, a lot has changed since the pandemic. And I fly, I mean, my family flew Spirit and Frontier down just 2 weeks ago, had no issues. Flying it again in November. So again, to each their own. But again, you are getting some things with a major carrier that has more flexibility, that has bigger routes. And again, it also depends where you're flying in and out of as well. So
right.
to keep that in mind too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and rental cars, I was laughing because we got a rental car for part of our trip this time, and there was not one person down there. If you recall, when I was there in April, and I believe the entire country was getting a rental car.
Yeah.
But keep watching those if you are including a rental car with your trip. Keep watching those too. There's some good deals, but again, those big dates tend to book up and prices go up a little bit on that as well.
Yeah.
We've,
A lot to
we
keep an
talked,
eye on. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So, and
Yeah.
again, if you have just questions about travel, we'll try and answer those. Other people can answer those too, or maybe it's just about if you haven't flown in a while or you haven't flown with kids, that's a whole new world as well. So
Right.
those are great questions to ask in the group, and we can pop on and help with that.
Yeah. Or what to expect from rental cars. I mean, most of
Absolutely.
the time, I mean, you're scheduling a rental car, you aren't paying a deposit. A lot of
Right.
them don't, ask for payment information.
Yeah.
You always want to keep an eye on rental car rates and watch and watch
Yeah.
and watch and watch and rebook. If
Yep.
things are lower, that's a
Yeah.
regular trick.
It is.
So,
It is.
yeah,
That's why we're good travel stalkers. That's what I describe it as. We're just on there all the time.
absolutely.
Get
Absolutely.
those good deals. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, one more thing. Catherine and I were chatting earlier, and I know that our giveaway, our official giveaway, isn't going to be until October 26th for October, but we wanted to do an honorary giveaway to somebody who, has been part of, I think, every single one of our chats, is always commenting, is always, you know, just part of what we're doing and part of Wizarding Wands and Mickey Ears, and has been for a very long time. And that's Lorena and her family.
yeah.
And so, Lorena, we've got a $25 gift card for you. We were just waiting for
I
you
know.
to pop in today.
We were making sure you were on. Yeah.
So, I mean, of course, you're sharing it with Jessica and Andrea and your mom. We know that
Mhm.
you're going to do that,
Right.
but be on the lookout for that, because that's
Yeah.
coming in the mail to you from
Absolutely.
us,
So
just as a thank you for being a part of everything so consistently all of the time, and taking the time to meet us. And it's just been
yeah.
such a joy.
Yeah.
So, thank
That's
you
why
so
we
much.
love what we do. Yeah. So thank you. We have appreciated the support. We know there's a lot of people who watch and maybe aren't necessarily commenting, but they're sharing it out. And that just means so much to us too. So again, we do this because we love it. We have a passion for it, but we want to help others too. And it's also really fun for us to be able to share so doing giveaways and things like that are really fun too. So some more things coming later this month that we'll share next week as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Oh, and you're welcome. I see the comment.
Uh, I can't see them. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yes, and thank you again for all of you who are watching tonight, and if you're watching, later on. Again, these are all up for you to view for a very long time. I don't know how long we'll keep them all up, but lots of great information out there. Please share with friends or family, coworkers who are considering Disney or Universal. And again, you are please share, the Facebook group and our other social media channels, because that's why we're here. That's why we're doing this. We can't have a personal conversation with every single person who has a question about Disney, of course. With clients and families who work with us, of course, we will do that. But we've got thousands of people who
Yeah.
are looking at this, and so
Right.
my goal and our goal is to really put resources out there that are going to make your trips as wonderful as they can possibly be, to answer your questions. And so if you've got specific questions, you know where to find us. We've got, an email, wwmeadventures@gmail.com. Again, Facebook, but you can ask in, TikTok or YouTube, or, ask questions anywhere. We get pinged when folks comment on things. We try to respond right away when we get that information. So
Absolutely.
thanks again. If you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe. Hit the like button. That helps us out a whole lot. Yeah. Thanks for joining us. And until next time, enjoy the journey. See you later.